Welcome everyone, today we have a new guide for Diablo 4. As you can see behind me, we have a new Necromancer build, and this build focuses on a lot of critical damage. And this build uses the utility of a lot of different spells for the highest 100% critical damage. And of course, we still have the Blood Mist as well, if you like the Blood Mist. But this build can also work without the Blood Mist. So what we'll do is, let's demonstrate the build a little bit. Of course, the full combination will combine with the Blood Mist. But if you don't have the Blood Mist, it works as well. So let me show you guys. It takes us about 2 shots or 3 shots to kill one of the single elites. And that's without the Blood Mist. And you can see me using the Blood Mist. I'll show you guys what happens when I don't use the Blood Mist. We can surround enemies, we turn them into a pit, and we deal pretty good damage. And this is all without me casting my ultimate. So the damage of the build is focused on 2 things. One is going to be a Bone Spear, one is going to be Blood Mist. But this build have a very interesting factor. What you can see over here, not sure if you guys noticed, is that when we lose HP and gain HP, we actually gain energy. So here is the highlight. Now have a look at my energy. When I lose HP, I'm actually exchanging my HP into energy. And this is somewhat of a real blood mage. I'm using my life as resource, and this is offensive. So each time I lose health, I gain a lot of energy. And this makes us super powerful and also really bursty when we have low HP. So when we're on low HP, we get all the energy back, then we deal massive damage. And of course, we do have a display of fighting the boss. So here I'm trying to lose a bit of life against the boss, and you do a lot of good damage, especially with your golem. So within about 5 seconds, the boss dies very fast. And notice I'm exchanging life for energy, and this is how we do a lot of burst damage. Now I'm sure you guys have noticed, we will be sacrificing the skeleton warriors and some skeleton mages for massive boost to critical chance and also vulnerability damage. I won't be sacrificing my golem because I cannot get the 30% critical damage increase, and because we need level 32, right? And also the golem is very good, especially when we go with Bone Storm. This doubles the damage of Bone Storm, because this also goes around the golem. So this is really powerful. And if you haven't seen our previous video, guess what I'm doing? As I'm recording this video, we're also AFK farming. Oh, this is legendary. I better get this one. So make sure you look at the previous video, guys. This is really good. We're AFK farming with summons, and as long as I have a bit of summons, this works wonderfully. Getting my friend to level his druid so we can make a druid video as well. Now briefly going through the build concept and also the idea. Our build will have 1 golem. This golem will tank for us, also it will drop corpses as it takes damage. We'll also be using Bone Prison for vulnerability, and this also pit enemies next to us. We have increased close range damage, which I'll show you guys very soon. We'll be using a Blood Mist because it is by far the most combination with the Corpse Explosion, and this also saves a slot. This also makes us invulnerable. But if you do not have the Blood Mist, Corpse Explosion will work. It will still work, but it's a little weaker, but if you do have it, it's perfect. Of course, we'll go with the Bone Storm. Bone Storm will give us durability, AoE damage, and also higher critical chance by 20%. Very powerful. We'll be using Decompose to summon corpses to do more corpse explosion damage, and we'll go with a Bone Spear for the massive damage boost. And we'll deal at least 1000 to 3000 damage per lance. Now coming over to a skill tree, we'll be going with only 1 upgrade of the Decompose. We don't need the slow, we don't need anything else, because we just need the 2 points for the next rank. We'll be going into 5 points into the Bone Spear and also its upgrades, which provide us with more critical chance. The guaranteed vulnerability is not needed because the Bone Prison will give us that, so this is better served for the increased damage for the Bone Spear. Now you do notice I have a spare point over here. We'll talk about this after, because this is really good for the boss. Coming over to the Macabre and also Corpseception, 5 points will be going into the Corpse Explosion, and you'll be upgrading for the increased damage to vulnerable enemies and so slowed and so stun enemies. Now if you do not have this particular legendary, which is the Codex that turns Blood Mist, activates Corpse Explosion, it still works. So what you do is you basically use Corpse Explosion over here over Blood Mist, and you do not have the points into Blood Mist. I'll tell you which points to go if you don't have the particular Codex. But if you do, this actually saves a skill point and makes you super more durable, and it's really fun to play, right? But it will work without the combination of the Codex over here. We'll be going with 1 point to Blood Mist and also its upgrade, which drops Corpse as we do Blood Mist. But if you do not have the legendary, you can go into more points into Healed Flesh for more corpses to be dropped for the Corpse Explosion, and also over here for the Death's Embrace for more damage and also damage reduction. Now you might have noticed a lot of my skills have found really high plus skill ranks, so +2 over here, +3 over here, +1 over here, and also +2 over here. We'll get onto the gears very soon. I'll tell you guys which gears you want to be looking for, and our previous video shows you how you find those gears, make them super powerful as well. Now we'll be going with 1 point into Bone Prism, which guarantees us to have vulnerability. You also give us additional essence, which means you can be casting more Bone Spears, and this works with my Infinite Essence build as well. We get lots of essence, we exchange essence for life, and you do lots of damage. Now we don't have any skill points anymore until we get to the ultimate, and ultimate is what we wanted with a Bone Stone. This deals a lot of AoE damage, and this works on your golems. So this is why we still want the golems. I didn't sacrifice him. I tried, it's not that good. So you also have damage reduction while it's activated. You also have increased critical chance by 20%, which is really powerful. Now over here, because we have 1 point spare, and also I really want corpses for more damage with the corpse explosion, we'll be getting this point with healed flesh. You can get other points as well, like the increased close range damage and also damage reduction. But having 8% chance of getting corpses against the boss, especially with constant damage with both of you and also your minions with Bone Storm, is really good for more damage and also for more corpses against the boss during the fight. Now coming over to our items and also legendary codexes, we start with a two-hand weapon. I'm using a two-hand weapon. If you've seen our previous video, this is the weapon I actually crafted live during the stream. And this weapon, ideally, you would do want 2 sockets for the increased critical damage against crocodile enemies. I only did 1 socket because I was a little cheap. And you can see this particular weapon means that when you have high essence over here, which I usually do, my essence is really high because of my build. We will do 66% increased damage, and this is so powerful. All the spells will do this much, and this makes you very good, right? I'll also be going with close range damage bonus, core damage bonus, and also vulnerability damage bonus, and those will be the highlight of the build. I'll briefly show you guys over here before any buffs or any effects. What we do have is, we have increased slow damage, increased close range damage by 21%, increased vulnerability damage by 62%, and this is massive. Now the second legendary of focus, of course, is the Blood Mist triggers Corpse Explosion. If you do not have this, make sure you check our previous guide, how about gambling and also rolling for different items to increase your chance of getting this particular codex. Because most of the Necromancer build can use this, because Necromancers want to do Corpse Explosion, and this particular codex makes it so easy to do it, and it casts automatically. One thing to highlight is this increased skill ranks. Now I have multiple increased skill ranks on this item, plus essence cost reduction. This build, you want essence cost reduction, because more essence you have, the more damage you'll have because of this codex on the weapon. Now as we go through more offensive codex, you can see on my rings I have the Bone Storm and also Blood Wave deal additional shadow damage. So the 72 damage over here is not the highest, it can roll higher, I guess it can roll to 88, but it is decent for additional AoE damage. With a Bone Golem, of course, this gets doubled. And here we also have one of the centerpiece of the build. This is in the resource section. So each time you heal 20% life, you gain 14 resource. And this is so powerful. It works on every class. And for our class, we'll be gaining a lot of blood orbs. We'll be getting a lot of potions. We heal a lot with the blood mist. And this is how in the videos, which I'll show you guys on the second part, it basically turns life into magic. And it deals more damage this way by using this particular item. And this is coming from a resource item. So it's really, really cool and really fun to play with this, because I'm playing a blood mage that's exchanging life into magic with mana, right? Now on the topic of exchanging life, this is one of the things that allows me to get more blood orbs to get more life. So this Pence Codex converts corpses 22% chance of getting more blood orb. And this is how you see later in a lot of replays, we always on full on life and we top up with a lot of blood orbs with potions and also healing. This item also have a corpse explosion rank and also blood mist rank, which is really good. You also have damage reduction. So in terms of the boots, nothing too special about the boots. I just had this cause a bit of movement speed and also want to spread the crowd control. In terms of the gloves, we'll be going with the critical chance with your core skill, increase your attack speed by 36%. It is really good attack speed, and because we critical hit a lot with Bone Spear, especially when we have the Bone Storm, almost over 50% critical chance. So this makes this spell especially good. Then now when we critical hit, we gain attack speed, and this makes our resource gaining and also damage even higher, especially when we are low alive, we burst and we get infinite energy. Now the Helmet Codex is one of my favorite, because this defensive codex will convert into offensiveness against the boss. Most bosses are unstoppable, and this means they can't be stunned. But if you have this codex, you gain 44% increased damage against the boss. So definitely want to get your hand on one of those. It doesn't have to be on the helmet, but those defensive codex is really offensive and really good. Now as for the chest, I didn't really go for anything special. You can see this chest is found Barbarian, and all I needed was AoE healing. And I took a bit of Thorn, it's not a big deal. I could have went with some damage percentage increase of the chest, but during making this build, I didn't really need the Codex for the chest or the boots. So this build still have room for improvement. Now briefly having a look at some of the item stats I have selected. The highlight over here will be the gloves. This gloves was found from the level 35 mob, and those actually drops the +2 rank for the skills. So this is how I get the +2 skill rank. So here we have +2 skill rank to the bone spear. Very good for the build. And this particular pants was just a random drop. Really good for my combination for blood mist and also corpse explosion. And finally, for the amulet, this is actually a really low level drop, so keep an eye out guys. If you look at amulets, even if they're golden and they're like level 10, level 15 dropped, you still can get some really good rolls. I have +1 to corpse and also +1 to my cap skill, and I rolled this one into essence reduction. So this is one of the secrets and also method. I was looking at all the plus rank skills. This is how I will have so many plus ranks with 7, 7, 4 and also 2 over here, with only spending a few of the points into the skills. Now in terms of the other stats of choices, you really want to go with critical damage, critical chance, close range damage, and also if you can get the vulnerability damage. So this particular weapon actually have all the damage bonus we have. So this is a really good roll on the weapon. You can see that we have vulnerability, core skill, and also close range damage, and that's everything we wanted. Now in terms of the sockets, I recommend getting the sockets on the helmet, the chest and also the pants for increased life percent. Because the more life you have, the more potion effectiveness you have, the more essence you have, because you convert life into essence. Because of this particular ring, I purposely lose life for more energy, and this gives you more damage. As for the rest of them, we go with critical chance damage, we talk about this, and you just go with any resistance for your amulets and also sockets for the rings. Now coming over to the fun part, this is where we go through the combination of the skills and also the abilities of the build. So over here what you're going to see is our build is quite straightforward. You have multiple choices. Of course the corpse explosion with blood mist is very powerful, but sometimes you can just start the fight with your Bone Storm, which increases your damage, AoE, and also give you high critical chance. You also want to surround enemies with Bone Prison to make them vulnerable, and this also traps them in next to you. You want to get close range to the enemies, because most of your damage comes from close range. That's why the bonus damage is close range. Of course, because we have the corpse explosion, it looks very fancy, right? But if you don't have the blood mist, you can still corpse explode. And what I want to show you guys is sometimes the rotation starts with making enemies vulnerable, and then you shoot lances right in the face. If you're critical enough, 2 shots will one-shot the enemies, or 2-shot enemies. And sometimes if you don't, you're still weaken enough of the weaker enemies to use the corpse explosion. And this is really good. So notice that I can surround them, and I shoot them a few times, and if I want to AoE, I just do AoE. But just to show you guys, it doesn't need the corpse explosion with the blood mist, it still works. And I do think this is by far the most powerful build for the Necromancer, because it sacrifices minions, which tends to die with the world boss, and also it gives you better endgame stats. Now here it is me showing you the conversion. So again, we're converting life into essence, and you can do this 2 ways. One is to drink potions, one is to use the blood mist. And if you do convert corpses with blood mist or corpse explosion, you get additional blood orbs because of the codex, making you always high on energy and also high on damage. Now finally, let's have a look at the rotation for the boss. As for the boss, it's quite straightforward. What you want to do is, you want to set a battle arena with the boss, and it's 1 vs 1. So here I put a Bone Prison down, and then I also make my Golem taunt. Golem taunting means Golem can also drop corpses, and activating my Bone Storm means both of me and the Golems will be trapped with the boss, dealing tremendous damage and increased critical chance. And then I start lancing the boss. So I started lancing the boss, I want to take some damage at this moment. So I purposely took some damage, and notice the boss is down to half HP within a few seconds. And then I start using my energy potion and also my blood mist to gain life and also energy. And then I finish the boss off. So quite straightforward, very high in damage, and very good in terms of defensive, utility, and also in terms of burst damage and also AoE damage. Now hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. In the future videos, what I'm looking for is I really want to make a skeleton build. So I'll be looking into a summons build for you guys for the Necromancer. And yes, I'm looking into the Druid. I got my friend to try to level up the Druid for us, because I'm still making lots of videos with Necromancer, and I still want to try the Blood build as well with Necromancer. So at least 1 or 2 more builds with Necromancer, then we'll go on to the Druid build before the beta finishes. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.